and talking about the early days. About Joe grew up in Liverpool. You know, a lot of people come from different areas that came into this story. But, you know, Joey was the real deal. And, you know, one thing I don't think I've ever asked you in all the time, when did you first see the Beatles?
Where did I first see them? Up close and personal.
The mic helps.
Up close and personal, you mean?
Yeah.
Really, it was in London, and it was in Earls Court at the Poll Winners concert. That was the real first time when I really saw them close up. I was in the front row, and it was great. It was great. What can you say, you know? Saw them in Liverpool, but I was in the back, and I didn't see them really. I saw, you know, kind of saw them and heard them.
At the Cavern or at the
Yeah, at the Cavern. Packed. The place was packed. You couldn't breathe. You know, the Cavern was like a sweat box.
You can't imagine how small it was. When you think of the Cavern Club, right? It was a bomb shelter, correct? It was.
Yeah. It was a basement in a warehouse, a grain warehouse in Liverpool. You know, Liverpool's a big port, so they had all these warehouses, and they opened up a little jazz club down in the basement of one of the warehouses, and it became the Cavern. They played jazz there, they played traditional jazz, they played all sorts of music there, and eventually became a rhythm and blues and rock club. And of course, that's when the Beatles came in and started rocking down there. The sound in there was present, it was right in your face. When I was last in Liverpool about 2 years ago, I went to see Billy Kinsley, who's playing here today, I think. I went to see him in the Merseybeats at a place called the Casbah that you probably heard about. And it was the same sound. I told Billy after the show, the sound of the Liverpool bands was in your face, loud, punchy. The vocals were hard and full voice, and it was really exciting. I've missed that sound since those days. You've got to go to Liverpool and hear the bands playing, and that's what they sound like. There's no far away, there's no echo. This is what the band sounds like, and it's fantastic.
And, you know, to your point, think about what pop music is today. Think how pre-programmed it is. There are two guys called the Swedish House Mafia, and they have computers. And 80% of the sound that you hear of pop music is from these guys' computers. And it's all done, and it just goes, and it's all pre-programmed, and it's perfect. And it's quantized, and there isn't one note out of place or one sound, and I don't feel anything from it. And it's exactly the opposite of what Joey's talking about.
It is. It's different than what I'm talking about. You know, I can't get down on it, you know, because it is today, and these are the young kids, and these are what they've got. All we had was guitars and amps and mics. We didn't have anything else. So it's much the same, I think, in a sense. But yeah, it was really crude and really raw. When you sang harmony, you had to sing harmony. There wasn't any machine to put it in tune.
You had to do it right.
You know, you had to sing in tune. You didn't get the job if you didn't sing in tune. It was as simple as that. So, you know, but I hate to say that about the kids nowadays, you know what I mean? I know those kids love their music, and I know they love to play rock and roll, and I know they want to rock, and I know they love the girls dancing and looking, you know what I mean? They love all the same things, and so, you know, here's to them. I wish them all the luck in the world. Right. I hope the machines never break down for them. They have to do it up front.
That's the problem. If the machines break down, you know, they got nothing.
The music is still alive, and the feel of the music is still there. So I'm rooting for them, and here's to it, you know.
Joey, what were you playing before you joined Badfinger? What were the bands that you were in? What were you playing in?
I was in a band called the Assassins at school, and that's what we did to the music.
You were bad kids.
We killed it, you know.
Oh, you were bad.
Yeah.
Bad boys.
And Dwayne Eddy, we know Dwayne Eddy, stuff like that. And then I played with a band called The Profiles. That was my first kind of paying job. I used to make a couple of bucks a night doing that. I played in the pubs around Liverpool with my mate Peter Pigeon, and then I got a job with the Masterminds. Used to be this band playing at the Blue Angel. Have you heard of the Blue Angel?
Yes, you read the stories, right?
Yeah, Alan Williams' place and all that. And we used to go down there after we'd finished playing. It was a late night drinking club in Liverpool, and we used to go down there after. There was a band called the Masterminds playing. I used to get up with them and play some Chuck Berry and stuff. And eventually, the guitar player left, Brian, and I got the job. They asked me to join, and so I was with the Masterminds. Made a record with those guys, with Andrew Loog Oldham, and the Stones came in one night, and they liked us, and we did a Bob Dylan song, which was a really kind of rare thing in those days. This is about 64.
That's really early to do a Dylan song.
Yeah, and we did. So our roadie was a big Bob Dylan fan by that time. He had the records, and that's how we heard him, you know. And we used to do this "She Belongs to Me" song, and Andrew Oldham came in, and he really liked our version, and he asked us, did we want to go to London and make a record? So we went with him and made a record. We did it at Regent Sound, where the Stones did their first albums and stuff. It came out as a complete flop and everything, but that was my first experience going to London. And then, of course, played around Liverpool. Played with Billy, backed him up with the Merseys. He was with a singing duo called the Merseys, and I got a job in that band playing guitar. Played with them for a couple of years. That broke up, and just kind of played around. Then I had some mates in Liverpool, Tommy Maguire and the lads, and then I got a job the Walker Brothers. Have you heard of the Walker Brothers?
The sun doesn't. Yeah,
the sun ain't gonna shine anymore, and things like that. Big ballad band, and they were huge in England. Dare I say, they were as big as the Beatles in England. And anyway, they broke up, and the drummer formed a band, Gary Walker and the Rain, and I was the guitar player in that band. Started writing songs then, and this was in '68 now. We went to Japan and everything, had hit records and all that stuff. It was a great time for me. I was 21, you know what I mean? So just the time of my life.
By the way, to interrupt, you realize how many bands he just mentioned until he got to 21. So you realize how much time of your teenage years you spent playing.
Sure,
you had a lifetime career until you're.
Once I got the chance, I picked up the guitar when I was 11, and just because something turned, Elvis turned me on actually, Blue Suede Shoes. And I learned to play the guitar, and I never had any kind of dreams about playing in a band. I'd go see bands play at the Cavern, saw the Nomads, mentioned I saw the guys down there, the Beatles, one time. Saw other bands, the Searchers, stuff like that, the Masterminds, and of course. And these guys all seemed to me like they were great players, and great singers. So you don't imagine yourself doing it, and you see the stars on TV, and you don't imagine yourself in that league or anything. You're just doing it because you like it. You know what I mean? And the first chance I got, I went and played. You know what I mean?
Sure.
With other
of course
guys.
You would.
And that's what happened to me. I just kept on getting asked, and I'd go and play. Until the call came from the Iveys to go down and audition.
Does anybody know the original name for Badfinger was the Iveys? That was the name of their band.
Yeah. And so I got invited to go and play for them, and I went and auditioned, and I got the job. It was really remarkable coming. Yeah.
It was John had hurt his finger, and he was screwing around in the studio, and they called it the Badfinger Boogie. And you know how things happen, just like, hey, Badfinger, hey, mate, what do you think, Badfinger? It's crazy.
They were looking for the name. See, the Iveys had been a rock band. In most young bands start out as rock bands. You know what I mean? They play rhythm and blues and rock and roll music, or Motown, and that's what we do. When they started to write songs and got involved in that side of pop music, if you like, the songs were very poppy. And they were very twee and very lightweight. I nearly didn't go and audition for the Iveys simply because I'd seen them on TV, and they were very kind of poppy oriented. And I've never been in that. I always wanted to play, beat music. I'd grown up in the cavern and I wanted to play beat, rock and roll music. So I nearly didn't go. My mates in Liverpool were, go Joe, they're working with the Beatles, they're doing all this stuff. And I'm going, well, Scott, it's not really my world. But I went, they talked me into it, and I went and I met these guys. And it turned out they were a rock and roll band from Swansea. And they were as fed up with doing the twee music and the real pop music as anybody could be, and they wanted to get back to being a rock band, and that's why they wanted to change their name. They didn't want to be the Iveys anymore. They didn't want to be that band. They wanted to be a rock band like they used to be, and they were looking for a name, and that's how that came to be, yeah.
I love that band. Badfinger is one of my favorite bands, some of the greatest music in the world. A few years back, Ken Mansfield, who was at Capitol, who wound up, they brought him over to help run Apple. Yeah. And if for anybody who's here, Ken Mansfield and I sat on this stage, and I said, it's one of the greatest bands I ever heard. He said, I love them as much as the Beatles. And he said, I know what I'm saying when I say that. And like, they should have exploded here in America. It should have just absolutely wiped out everyone else. And for whatever reason, he said there were a lot of factors. And we knew how great they were. And he said, I always felt I failed them somehow, that we didn't make America, Badfinger. Like, you had hits, but it wasn't what it was supposed to be. Those are his words.
It was different, it was just the things that happened. And Apple did a great job for us, promoting us. And Pete came up with the songs and stuff like that. There were some things like every other band in the world, when they had a record, the record company would put another record out right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right away, they would do it in the album and all that stuff. That never happened with Badfinger. I don't know whether because there was only one good song on the record, but you know what I mean?
No, there weren't. Yeah, there were more.
That's just what happened, things like that. And then we had really shitty managers. They had no idea. We didn't even get in clubs free. We were number one in the record charts. We never got any of those things. We never got any free instruments. We never. You
certainly didn't get paid.
We didn't get paid.
They didn't get any money.
We made like $300 a week. And that was our idea. We were trying to save the money. And, of course, the guy was going buying Rolls Royces and flying movie producers in. And the Plaza Hotel bills were staggering, It was just one of those things. In the meantime, we had a great time. We were traveling around the world. We were playing everywhere. We played Carnegie Hall, Mile High Stadium, whatever, played all these great gigs and really enjoyed ourselves. Wrote songs, rode on the bus, got a bit stoned. I met my wife, and we married for 39 years. So that's a great thing, isn't it?
That's a beautiful gig.
All this stuff went on in our lives, in our private lives, and we really enjoyed it. And we were good mates. We all lived in the same house. We partied. We drank our beer. We went out with the Beatles. I remember George Harrison called us one night, and. The phone rings and pick up the phone. Hello, listen, who's that? This is Joey. Hey, Joey, what are you doing tonight? I'm just hanging around. Me and Kathy just at the house. Do you want to go and see the band? And the band is right. The band were playing at the Albert Hall, and there's George Harrison on the phone telling us he's got a few tickets, and you want to go with us?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, so we went down there. There's George Harrison, Eric Clapton. It was a fantastic night. So these things were happening to us, on the side of the crooks and the suits, the guys with the ties. It was just, the life was fantastic. We just never got the kudos and the money and all of that stuff that went with it. We've had people come and see us for years. I've sat on stages and talked about it. I've made a living playing the guitar. I'm still buying guitars.
God bless.
And living the life of a musician, which is a bit of a dream life, so.
You know what? You've got these songs that last a lifetime. And the saddest part is that what happened to Joey and to Badfinger in that era was the rule. The Beatles having a Brian Epstein was the exception to the rule. We go to dinner, a friend of ours, Luke Christie, who's a dear friend. Lightning Strike's going to make you mine. 5 top 5 hits, 3 number ones, literally never got 1 penny
Oh,
of
yeah,
money.
yeah.
Not 1
You
cent.
know, he had the same manager.
Yeah,
He had the same manager as us, and I'm not kidding.
yeah.
Stan Polly was the guy. Yeah, it was like it was legal for Stan to do this stuff. You know? And you know what? I'll tell you something else. It never occurred to us to go to the cops.
Yeah, for whatever reason. But you were kids.
Yeah.
But you're teenagers. You know, you don't really... Nobody's looking out for you. One of my favorite books about the music industry, Levon Helm. Levon, one of the most beautiful souls you'll ever
God
meet,
bless you.
wrote a book called Wheels on Fire. And he said, you know, I'm from a town called Turkey Scratch, Arkansas. Not a joke. That's the name of the town.
Yeah.
He said, when you're sitting around the general store, around the Cracker Barrel with a pipe, nobody really talked about music publishing in Turkey Scratch, Arkansas.
That's right.
Because there was nobody to ask, is this a good deal?
Yeah.
He said, you're the most naive kids in the world. You know, you're a band, and you got some instruments, we're going to play some music, and you hope it all gets sorted out. And it was so easy to take from us, because who knew?
Yeah, and any money was money.
Exactly.
You know, $5, $10, $100 didn't make any difference. Really, it was just a bit of dough in your pocket.
Right.
You know, so you could do what you do, and you got to play. You got to play every day. Knockouts.
Right, and that's the spectacular thing. I'm going to save a couple of minutes for questions for you guys, but I got just 1 or 2 more. So now, when the next generation, when people come up to you and go, man, that song Baby Blue, what a great song. Tell us, like, how does it feel when you hear it on the radio, when you see these songs that are still alive and thriving?
It's great to hear it on the radio. It's always great, that stuff. When the young people come up and talk to us about making the records or the guitar solos or whatever it is that they like about it, that's a great treat. And you feel a bit, well, I feel a bit kind of, I don't really know what to say to them, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, they were just records we made, and we really enjoyed making them. We had the time of our lives, and we were as surprised as anybody could be when they were as big hits as they were. You know, like at Bangladesh, we were the only band with a hit record.
Think about that. Yeah. Joey and the guys are at Bangladesh. They're the ones with a hit on the charts.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was really weird. So it was a great big surprise to us, and you know, I loved the idea that kids today listen to the records and go and learn it.
Yes.
You know, they learn no matter what, and you know, stuff like that. It's just like we did with Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry and all that. We went and learned those records. I've met Chuck Berry 3 times. I'm still in awe of the guy. You know, I go and get his autograph. I was pleased as punch to get a photo taken with Chuck. You know, we talked a bit about it last night. It must be the same deal, you know. And Chuck must feel, I wonder, he must feel the same way when we go up to him and tell him we think he's the greatest writer in the world, and he must look at us like, these guys are nuts. You know, what are they talking about? You know, so it's just a great treat.
Hey, real quick, because I know I want to save time and we're pressed for time, but I can't let it go without talking about Bangladesh. Yeah. The concert for Bangladesh. And again, like everything else that happened to the Beatles, George puts this together, just gets the idea of how to do it, and then the entire world goes, oh, okay, that's how you do it. And from that day forward, concert for 9/11, Sandy Relief, New Orleans Relief, whatever it is, that's how we do it, just the way George made it up. You get all your friends, bands together, ask everybody to come, you put on a number, you know, it's like he made it up, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Tell me about what you thought about the whole idea and about being there.
We had no idea, really. We were doing the Straight Up record when the Bangladesh tragedy happened. Thousands of people were dying, floods. It was an awful situation. We were in our little world in Abbey Road making a record, and George got a phone call from Ravi Shankar.
Yeah.
Who was actually put the idea to him that maybe George, as a Beatle, could maybe do something to help these people. And that's really what sparked the whole thing. George didn't know what to do. He'd only ever played with the Beatles, and the idea of going and playing by himself was a nightmare for him. So he said he was going to New York, and he told us he apologized that he wouldn't be able to finish the record with us, but this seemed like a big deal, you know. So he went to New York, and he and I guess Alan Klein started to put that concert together And he decided to do the concert, and he decided to do All Things Must Pass, and he invited all the musicians that had played with him. You know, and of course Badfinger had done that.
Yeah.
And so he called us and asked us, would we do it? And isn't it amazing how they do that? The guy's the guitar player in the Beatles. You know, the biggest band ever, the biggest musician ever, if you like. And he's calling and asking you to do him a favor and come and play with him. That's what they were like. And they never lost that, I'll tell you. John Lennon called us and asked us to do him a favor and come and play guitars on his record. Who knew?
Let me think about it for a minute.
No, it was just unbelievable. Anyway, so he put the show together. He said they were going to do a couple of shows in New York. Would we fly over? There'd be no money in it. All the money was going to go to the kids. And I'm proud to say, a couple of years ago, I got an award. It came in the mail one day. I had no idea. A little letter from Olivia. Thanks a lot. And there at the bottom of the Bangladesh Foundation are the foundation guys. And there's my name, Joey Molland, with George Harrison. And you know what I mean? It's
pretty damn cool.
Eric Clapton, Joey Molland, Pete Ham. You know, there's band names. Unbelievable. I got this thing, they'd sold 4 million copies of the $60. That's $240 million.
Right.
You know, $240 million. All goes to UNICEF and all feeds children and clothes children and houses children all over the world. And if that's not something to be proud of. And George Harrison gave me that, you know. George Harrison gave me that. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Look, it's a beautiful gift, and that lives forever. Hey, I promised. I'm so sorry. I monopolized all the time. I got time for one question. Who's got a question for Joey? Yes. Yeah, please. No, just so.
Okay. Can you tell us your impressions of Tittenhurst Park, upstairs, downstairs, the studio, and did you get a chance to walk around the gardens?
He asked about Tittenhurst Park.
Yeah, I can't tell you anything about it. I never went there. And that's a fact. I could make stuff up and everything, but I really never went there. So next question, please.
Yes. I'll tell you, the next question is, please just keep on doing what you're doing. You're going to play live for us tonight?
Yeah, we're going to have a jam tonight. Yeah, play some songs.
Fantastic.
Enjoy it. Yeah.